Incredible adventures. Your hosts today are Brin, Lakin, and Nora. Our guest today is Jonathan Hayes, a biology teacher with a deep passion for sled dog mushing. He owns and operates Poland Springs Seppala Kennels, where he trains and cares for a team of extraordinary Seppala Siberians, dogs directly connected to the historic legacy of the Serum Run. Next week, Jonathan will embark on the Centennial Seppala Expedition, retracing the iconic Serum Run in honor of its 100th anniversary. Please welcome to the show, Jonathan Hayes.
Thank you. I'm really glad to be here, and I'm going to have to hire you to do all of my talking for me because you did.
Hello, welcome to the show.
Really glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I am a sixth generation Tennessean, but I fell in love with the North when I served in the Marine Corps and was a cold weather infantryman in the Marine Corps. So when I got out, I decided to settle here in Maine. And I've always loved dogs, and I always loved the snow. I had never seen a musher. I had never seen a dog sled team. But I just got a whole bunch of books from the library and started reading them and buying the equipment that I needed. And I adopted some Huskies that could not pull sleds very well. And so it was a really rough start. And I think a lot of mushers start out that way, just getting pet dogs, thinking that they look like sled dogs, so they should be good sled dogs, but then they're not good sled dogs. So that's how we all start. But that's how I started over 25 years ago. I think it was about 27 years. And about 2 years afterwards, about 25 years ago, I realized that there were still the direct descendants of Togo and that team of dogs that Leonard Seppala used to save the children of Nome. And I started getting them and I started breeding them. And that's what I've been doing for the last 25 years.
Talk to us about what inspired you to get involved in mushing.
Yeah, I just love snow. This is what happens, parents, when you don't let your kids have dogs. My parents would not let me have dogs, and now look, I've got a yard full of dogs. So if you don't want your kids to go crazy with dogs when they grow up, maybe let them have a puppy.
Mm-hmm. We know your kennel is home to Seppala Siberians. Can you talk to a little bit about Seppala Siberians?
Yeah, so after Leonard Seppala was instrumental in saving the children of Nome in 1925. After that, he moved here to Maine and he established his first Seppala Kennels here in Maine. And so he and the people who took over his kennel after him, there's been 6 mushers between him and me in the ancestry of these dogs. And every generation of musher from Leonard Seppala to me has kept these dogs as a separate and distinct breed. So I'm now serving as the president of the International Seppala Siberian Sled Dog Club. We are the international breed club that seeks to preserve these dogs. Sadly, we're just 100 years from them saving the children of Nome, and 100 years later, there's less than 100 of them left. So we've got a big project ahead of us.
Now that we've learned a little bit about your journey into mushing, let's take a step back in time. You're going to retracing the route of the Serum Run coming up, which we will talk about in a bit. Can you first talk to our listeners about the original Serum Run and the history, the significance, and why it's so important in Alaska?
Sure. So in 1925, there was an outbreak of diphtheria, and most of us know about COVID and the outbreak of COVID that we had. The big difference between diphtheria and COVID is that COVID really attacked older people. The sad thing about diphtheria is that it attacks children and infants and toddlers. And so the children of Nome were dying. And so there was no way to get antitoxin or serum to Nome by plane. There was no way to get it there by boat. There were no roads. So the only way they could get it there was to do about 750 miles from the town of Nenana, where there was a railroad station, all the way across the low Arctic on the Tanana River and the Yukon River, and then up the coast, just like the Iditarod does, up the coast of the Seward Peninsula and then over to Nome. That's how they took it 100 years ago. And there was a relay of 20 mushers and about 150 dogs that participated in this, but none of those mushers, the average musher went about 30 to 40 miles, but Leonard Seppala did 261 miles, and he crossed the frozen sea ice twice and risked his life twice to save the children of Nome. And it's those dogs, those are the ancestors of the dogs that I have today.
Who were the main mushers in this journey?
There were a lot of great mushers, and I don't know all of their names. There are 20 of them, but a lot of people know about Gunnar Kaysen and the lead dog that he used, Balto, because Disney made a couple cartoons about Balto. And recently, people have become more familiar with the greatest heroes of the run, Leonard Seppala and his Seppala Siberians, led by Togo. Disney just made a movie about Togo. But there were a lot of other great mushers. There were native Athabascan and native Eskimo Indians along the route that were mushers that were instrumental in saving the children of Nome as well. The first musher was this really danger-loving guy named Wild Bill Shannon, who took off in 50 to 60, I think it was more than 60 below zero temperatures in a storm on the first leg of the run to save the children of Nome.
There are some popular movies on this topic, such as Togo. Would you say these are historically accurate?
I have to tip my hat to Disney. They actually did a really, really good job. Usually movies get it all wrong, but the new Disney movie Togo is extremely accurate. The one thing that they didn't get right is that Togo and the team didn't stay in Alaska. They moved here to Maine, and they established the Poland Spring Kennel, and now I have Poland Spring Kennel here today with the descendants of those dogs. But it's a movie, and they have to end the story somewhere. So ending it with Togo saving the day and then retiring there in Alaska, I don't blame them too much. But for the most part, it was a really good story.
Now that we've learned about the history and significance of the original Serum race, let's go back to today. You are preparing to embark on an expedition that retraces this iconic route to Centennial Seppala Expedition. Tell us what inspired you to take on this challenge.
So about 3 or 4 years ago, a friend of mine who owns the Poland Spring Resort where Leonard Seppala lived 100 years ago, she reached out to me and she said, I want to have a bronze statue made for Togo. A lot of people know there's a bronze statue to Balto in Central Park in New York, but we felt like that Togo deserved one too. So I did a short 7-day solo dog sled expedition to help raise money for that. And that statue got made. It's a beautiful statue. You can look it up online at Poland Spring, the main State House Museum. There's a big bronze statue to Togo there. And then after that, reporters kept asking me, what's next? And I have had the honor of training and racing out of Iditarod champion Mitch Seavey's kennel in Alaska. And I've had the honor to do a whole lot of things. But with the 100-year anniversary coming up, I really couldn't miss this opportunity to take the descendants of Togo and that team of dogs and to retrace the route on the very centennial, on the very 100-year anniversary. It was just too good to pass up. So that's what we're going to do.
Talk to us about the preparations that have gone into this expedition.
It is crazy. Everyone who knows me knows that I am stressed to the max because it's kind of like if you could imagine someone putting on an Iditarod race by themselves and running the Iditarod race by themselves, and then training a dog team to run the Iditarod race by themselves and then running it and doing it all. That's kind of the stress that I've been under, is kind of like doing a distance race and then running the distance race. It's kind of like the Iditarod mushers prepping for the Iditarod, but then also having to put on the Iditarod. So it's been really, really, really stressful. Thankfully, I've got a great support team with me. There is a North Face videographer named Caleb from Quebec, Canada, who is going to be making a documentary about it. And my very good friend Jamie and Jeff are going to be assisting with the video filming and everything with snowmobiles. So back then they had these wonderful roadhouses. Every night they could pull into a roadhouse and get warm and have a nice warm meal and then give it off to someone else. Those roadhouses aren't there anymore, except one. So for the most part, people will be camping in tents. We'll be sleeping out with our dogs in the elements for this whole expedition.
Is there any specific way you're going to honor the original journey?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways. One really cool thing that you might find interesting is the Alaska Railroad and the mayor of Nenana and our dog team. We're going to put on a reenactment. So the actual Alaska Railroad train is going to pull up to the train station just like it did 100 years ago. They're going to take a box of serum and hand it to the mayor, and the mayor's going to hand it to me, and I'm going to put it in my sled bag, and then we're going to take off. So this reenactment there'll be people from all over Alaska coming to see the reenactment, and there'll be a lot of camera crews there, taking videos of it. So yeah, it's gonna be beautiful. And then we're gonna take that all the way to Nome and hand it to the leaders and the native leaders and the city leaders of Nome. So we're excited about that.
Okay, is your school good about letting you take the time off?
That is the $1,000,000 question. And they let me take a month and a half off a few years ago when I went to train with Iditarod champion Mitch Seavey, which was a huge honor. I learned so much from him in Alaska. And then this time I've been putting a bug in their ear for like 3 years saying, hey, 2025 is coming up. The 100-year anniversary is coming up. The 100-year anniversary is coming up. And I have to say, my principal was awesome and very supportive. And then she retired. And so I was like, oh no, who am I going to get for a principal now? And then the principal that replaced her was a retired musher. And he was really excited about it. And I have to say that my district superintendent actually went to the district board, school board, for me and represented me and convinced the school board to let me go on this expedition. So I'm really grateful to the school and the district.
So is the reenactment going to be live streamed?
So we are taking modern technology is amazing. We are taking Starlink Mini, which just came out, and it's basically going to allow us every night to hook up to the satellites and get on the internet. So every night we are going to be uploading videos from that day on the expedition. And we have on Facebook, we have the Centennial Seppala Expedition. On Instagram, on YouTube, and on our website, we're going to be posting those videos. And the town of Nenana and a lot of other people are planning on going live when we take off too.
What are some of the biggest challenges you think you will face on this expedition?
So I have a lot of friends that run in the Iditarod, and I've heard a lot of horror stories about the wind on the coast. Most people are like, oh, aren't you afraid to run on the Yukon River? But we run on rivers here. And aren't you afraid to cross the ice? And we have big frozen lakes here, and we cross the ice here all the time. For me, I'm really nervous about those coastal winds. I am not, I'm not taking it for granted. I know that there's going to be a lot of rough work ahead of us, and we're just going. If the storms come, as they often do, and if the trail conditions get too bad, we'll just curl up with the dogs and in our tents, or in our sleds. And I've got these nice coats that we're going to put on my dogs, although they really don't need them. I'm going to put these really nice coats on the dogs so that when people see it on the film, they'll be like, "Oh, he's got coats for the dogs." Then I'll like, take this coat off of me. But we've got coats for them, and if the storms come up, we'll just we'll hunker down until the storm's over, and then we'll keep going.
Will the expedition take the same time as like the original expedition?
That's a great question, and the answer is no, it will not. And the reason why it won't is because 100 years ago, there were 20 mushers, and they were relaying it. So they would run 30 or 40 miles, and then they'd give the serum to a fresh team, and then that team would run 30 or 40 miles and give it to another team. Instead of us doing a relay like that, we're doing the entire thing. And it would be really cruel of us to try and make one team of dogs do what 20 teams of dogs did 100 years ago. So we're going to take our time, and actually, the sad thing is, to save the children of Nome, I think 5 dogs died during the original Serum Run to save the children of Nome. And we're not going to have any dogs die on this expedition. We're going to take our time. We're going to make sure they're fat and sassy when they
During the expedition, what message or lesson do you hope to share with those who are following this journey?
So, I have a lot of friends, military friends, that have given up on themselves and given up on life. And my hope, sorry, is when you look at people who have sacrificed so much and did so much to save the children of Nome, and went through so much hardship because they valued life. I just want everyone that sees this to know that they need to value their life and value themselves, and don't give up on yourself. Don't ever give up on yourself.
How can people follow this expedition?
Sorry about that. Got the call coming in. There's a lot of different ways you can follow the expedition. You can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. We actually have a YouTube channel that I'm not really good at doing, but I've been trying to keep that up. And we have a website, and the website has everything on it. And it's really simple to remember. It's Mush Maine. So MUSHMAINE. And a lot of people don't realize Maine has a really great dog sledding heritage. It's not as great as Alaska's, but it's pretty close.
Is there anything else you would like people to know about the expedition?
There's a lot of ways that people could join in and support and help out. We've had some really great sponsors come on because they believe in what we're doing. But from sponsoring a dog, the famous painter John Van Zyl from Alaska made a nice commemorative painting of our upcoming expedition, and we're selling limited edition prints of that. So there's a lot of ways that you can join in and help us, but mostly we just hope that you'll spread the word, share what we're doing with friends, and follow along.
Our final segment is the Serum Run trivia. Try to answer these 5 questions as fast as you can. Ready?
Boy, no, I'm not ready, but go ahead.
Which musher in the Serum Run traveled the farthest?
Leonard Seppala, 261 miles total, but that's out and back, so it's kind of technical.
Which famous sled dog became a hero for completing the final leg of the run, bringing the serum into Nome?
The original and the dog that got most of the glory at the beginning was Balto. He did the last run of, I think, 51 miles.
How many miles did the Serum Run relay stretch across Alaska from Nenana to Nome?
So there are a lot of different numbers floating around out there, as little as 671 and as much as 750. But it's in that ballpark, and we're going to be right at 750 miles on our run.
Where can you find the statue of Balto built in his honor?
Balto statue is in Central Park in New York. New York.
Where can you find Togo today?
So that's another really great story. Togo actually, as I mentioned earlier, died here in Maine, but then he was stuffed, and his remains are currently at the Iditarod headquarters, and I got to see him face to face for the first time this summer when I went up to work on Leonard Seppala's old house.
Okay, one final question. Is there someone you would like to see on our show?
Ooh, that's a good question. And yes, I want you to drag Mitch Seavey on this show. And the reason why is because Mitch Seavey has come out of retirement. He's won the Iditarod 3 times. He's come out of retirement this year to run the Iditarod again. And I really think that he has a good chance of winning it for the 4th time. And I'm really rooting for him. So I would love to see Mitch Seavey on your show.
So for 8 years, I've been trying to get Mitch CV, and yes, I've gone through so Dallas has even been on it, but I've asked Danny to get a hold of him, and he just keeps ignoring. Maybe I'll have you touch base.
I will send him the link to this, and
Ma.
you just need these 2 girls to say, Mitch, please come on. Oh,
Okay, thank you so much, Jonathan, for taking the time to talk with us today. Good luck and be safe on your expedition. Don't forget, guys, follow the expedition on Facebook.
Special thanks to our guest Jonathan Hayes for being on our show this week. If you have any questions, comments, or people you'd like to hear on the show, email us at huskytalk@gmail.com. We would also give credit to who votes and the Iditarod trick. How Reddington's.
That's what we asked.
Bye.